Welcome to the XL250 restoration. In this one we start putting the bike back together. You can see it here. Some parts we've put on that don't necessarily need to be on. Just gets it out onto the bench, or off the bench, sorry, onto the bike. And it also shows me where some of the retainers can go, or fasteners can go, so that when it comes time to put the engine in, we can just unbolt it and everything's there waiting. So anyway, look, we've done quite a lot today. I hope you enjoy this. There's no footage of MGs or starlets. The starlet I'll resume when it comes back here, which will probably be in a little while, maybe when this is finished, I don't know. And the MG engine I'm going to do as a separate video, because I've got that here and we're ready to do something on that. I'll just show you what I mean. Right there, that little guy. So we'll pull all the stuff off that we can. Plate, of course, because that's what I normally do, and tar it up and make it look lovely. I don't want to do any actual repairs on it because it runs like a little Swiss watch. It's really good. It's just that rear main that's problematic. So hope you enjoy. Right, so I've got the a few bits and pieces we want to put on the bike frame, but we can't do anything until we've got the steering head bearing sorted out, and that's this little guy here. Of course, this needs to be pressed down to the bottom. Now, this is an all balls kit. It comes with two bearings. There's a 3524 and a 3511. That's got a larger centre than this one, so of course we can't put that down the bottom, because if we try, is that in frame? Just out of frame, we can see here it's clearly designed to be the top one, so that doesn't go there. This little guy here does. Now, before we can establish how to put it on, there comes spacers. And so we need to measure the thickness of the original bearing. Now here's the original roller bearing, needle, or what do you call it, ball bearing, and it's a little bit gone in the hardening. This half looks alright, and that sort of fits in there with some balls. Now they're going to roll out everywhere because that's what they do. They're a pain. So I'm just going to put a bit of grease sort of in here to hide it, or to hold it from, hold the balls from falling out. I've just put a toilet roll dispenser in here, and it's being invaluable, but it doesn't look good having toilet roll lying around. Anyway, so we'll drop these in and they will stay where I want them, and that way I can establish how thick the bearing is in a sort of a roundabout way. And I'll stick another one over here, what the heck, and then we can clamp that over, and that will give us the thickness. And you can see that is actually really quite thick there, so we need to measure it and compare that measurement to the original, or to the new non-genuine bearing, if you know what I mean. So, pardon me. Our 3511 is the one that goes down the bottom, and that is running at a thickness of 15 millimeters, 1497. This little guy, which we've taken out, it's thicker. Okay, that's 1786. So clearly we might need to use one of these. Now, if I just pull that out and stack that on top of that, what are we up against? 1796, are we? Whoops. That's still out. That's, what's that? That's 1685. So we're still a mil out. So even with that spacer, don't get that dirty, we're still a millimetre out, so clearly we're going to need to use that. So that is going to have to sit down in the stem like that. So we have to put that down, the seal, then the spacer, and then the bearing like that on top of the stem. Now these seals are different as well. The centre is smaller for the top, obviously, so I can't get past that shoulder. These are designed to go inside the tube. Is that going to sit flat? Yes, it does. And then that guy goes over it, but that is quite tight. Now we're going to put this on. So the first thing we're going to do before we do that is pack it. And people will show you, while they pack their bearings, they'll start doing this business. That's wrong. We need to use clean gloves for a start, but we need to push it in like this, and you will see the lubricant starting to come out through the top there, and that's how we know that it's packed properly. This is a high temperature bearing grease. It's not going to get overly hot in the head stem. We'll just go around and do this. And hopefully I've got the tool I need to press it on, because I haven't got a press here. So we'll drop him on. I shot the wrong one. Oh man. Okay, I just lubricated the wrong one. Wasn't concentrating, I was talking to you too much, wasn't I?
Nah.
Huh?
No.
Either you or anybody watching this. Okie dokie. More there. And we put him over, and that will go down to the bottom. Okay. Rightio, so I'm putting this in, and I'm having some difficulty with it. I'm using a brass drift, and just, because I haven't got, what you can use another bearing shell and cut a slot on it with a angle grinder, and of course that way it'll retain its circumference, knock it in, and because you've got that cut it won't ram itself in there. But I don't have another bearing the same size, so I'm just sort of using a brass drift which is gentle on it, and we'll knock it in. And it's being a pig because I can't really see what I'm doing. And just go around it with the flat edges. Whoops. And it's going in rather well. That sounds reasonably solid there. I think I've bottomed out in that part. And that bit there. I think we're good now. Right, so this is the top one. This is very shallow, you can see here. And which means this one's going to sit fairly proud, I would have thought. I'll get my vernier and turn it on. I can just use a depth gauge on there just to see how. Oh, inches. Hang on a second. Oh, the battery's gone flat. Oh, look, it doesn't matter. Whatever the case, I can just lower that like that and then figure out. It's going to sit proud about 2 millimeters, which is something of a pain because I don't want that. But anyway. I think that's down as far as it's going to go. It looks ugly sitting up like that. It's going to see when it's got the seal on it. I don't know if I like that. Oh, hang on. The head stem goes over the top, doesn't it? I haven't painted this bit yet, but that. Yeah. Yeah, don't like it. I can't say I like this, although it does seal inside the head stem. But it does sit proud. I kind of knew that was the case. We also need to have other bits and pieces ready, which is this. It'll go in here, and that will go over. Oh, that goes over the seal. I see. How stupid am I? Oh, that's cool. That's all right. Other thing is we need to lubricate this. Stick a bit of grease in there. Very, very nice stuff indeed. I was worried actually about that sitting proud, but I'm not so concerned about it now because I sort of figured it out. I've not done this job before.
It looks delicious.
It does look reasonably delicious. So, now this is where you might have to help me, Rosie. I'm making noises like that. So that goes in. Actually, I've got toilet paper in the. That's gross. Okay. Oh, look at that. We have steering. We didn't need to put that washer in. We haven't got any thread left. Oh, that is a pain in the neck. Hang on. Because that is not going to fit on there. What a ruddy nuisance. That is a pain. Hang on a second. Does that go in any further? I don't think it does. There's not enough thread on there. I'm going to have to take that out again. That is a pest.
Yeah, eyeballs.
Okay. That is better. Oh crap. Oh no. Oh man. Daddy is stupid. Like really.
And he's special.
Really diabolically stupid. Because this has to go under there for the lock. There's 2 bolts. That's a pain. So if I just drop that through, you know what? Drop that out. I've got to put these in. No, I don't. That goes on top. And then there's some domed nuts that sit on top of that.
Oh.
And they don't use shouldered bolts, they don't use washers, they're just non-shouldered bolts that sit there. This is the reason I used this stem and welded that thing up, to use this thing, so I'm not going to leave it out. I need to get a motorcycle stand, but then I probably wouldn't use it enough. After these two I probably won't do anymore. So the deal with this is we tighten them up from underneath, and we just give them a nip up on these lock nuts here, on these domed ones. Is that dirty? What have I done? Hang on a minute. I don't like that. These nuts, they could have been, oh no, that's right, that's just muck off the spanner. I thought for a minute it was the plating that had rust underneath it, but there we go. Now we can put this guy on and bring him up through the top, and we're all good. We've got lots of threads now, which is cool. Now I won't tighten this. I'm going to tighten that up, swing it around a few times and back it off about an eighth of a turn or so. I'm not going to do that now, but I just wanted to get that on. So now that's on, I can start putting the rest of the suspension components on, so that's all good. It's a pain in the neck. I've put the steering head back on a couple of times, and then the first time I forgot about putting the steering lock on, which was really daft. And then, because you can't get behind here once it's in the bike, in the frame. And then I put it on and it looked terrible. It's got a quick paint job. Still not perfect, but it does work. It's functional. So I'm going to nip this up nice and tight, and then we can pop that back in the frame. And the top part of it, that's the headlight bracket and a few bits and pieces. I'm not going to tighten this until I get a fork leg in, and that bearing's not set up properly, but this will just mean it's off the bench and it'll open up more room for me to do what I need to do. That'll hold it there just for now until we've done the forks, and then we can sort of settle the bearing preload and everything up then. But it's already starting to look the part. Another thing worthy of mention, with all these, because we've done the plating on both bikes, I didn't notice this one, the bike's had a stack, and it's sort of all, it's been all scraped up, which is no big deal. I've got 4 of these, so just pick the best 2. This assembly here now, it's brake pedal obviously, not happy, not delighted with it. It's a little bit stiff. It needs a sleeve inside the pedal. Now, it looks exactly the same as an XWXY brake pedal one, brake pedal sleeve, and I reckon I had a spare, but in my wisdom I used it in the XC, which is what you do, and I couldn't find it, so I might have to whip this off again. No big deal. If it needs to be taken off, I'll just take it off. But this is just more stuff that'll get off the bench, and I'll pull it off to put the engine in. So cool. Huh. I'm happy with this. Right, so I've got a headstock reassembled. It's all looking good. We'll just check this steering lock out. That works well. And that is the reason we used this frame. I'll have a look at the swing arm now, I think. Right. Okay, so we've got a swing arm here. We've got the pin that goes down the centre. I'm just going to use a bit of grease in there just to fit it. And then we'll pack it, I think. And we've got these little bearing, what are they called? No, grease cups to go on the end. They've got a seal on the inside of them. They can sit on the end. And of course I've got this, which I'm less than thrilled about. This goes on the end, got a message, of the swing arm here. It's not new, it's the old one. I've cleaned up the outside of it. The chain will cover this and the swing arm will cover that sort of thing. So look, I'm not loving it, but what else do you do? Beggars can't be choosers. And this tape release very well. That's Sam at Tech Coat. He's done a beautiful job masking that up, so that's all cool. So we'll stick this in. We're just using a minuscule amount here just to fit it, and then we'll put molly grease in by the nipple and wait till it starts oozing out, just like that. And hopefully then we can stick it in the bike without any issue whatsoever. Here we go. Whoa! There we go. And they're all dripping out of there. So we know that's all packed up now. That's cool. And this is the stuff that it's molly based, and so we use it on ball joints and tie rod-ends on cars, stuff like that. So I reckon it'll be alright for a swing arm on a motorbike. Should be good. Let's unscrew that. And we'll give it another hit once the swing arm's installed. Right, okay, so we've got a few bits to put in. We've got a bolt. I'm going to put it in so the nut... No, actually I'll put it in this way. That's going to be easier. I'll put those there. Bit of dirt on the floor, but we don't mind. And we've got to... That goes like that. That goes like that. Over there. And then this one goes over here. We'll spin that on, and it's got to go up in there. And so we just thread a bolt. Some bloody hell. That's my hammer. Okay, we're hitting, so we just move him over so we can see it's all. Hang on, Rosie.
Yep, hang on.
All done. So we'll just get that nut. So here's a better view. Looks absolutely lovely. A few dirty prints on it. We can wipe those off. That thing doesn't look too offensive, that block in there. It sort of sits in there. The chain will go over it, as we said before. It does look a bit mangy there, though. Steering headstock's in. 2 different bolts, so we will change one of them out so they're the right length, but we want them stamped the same at the top, just so it looks all nice. Of course, we've got the dome nuts on the steering lock, so that is all good too. About to put the shocks on. Might put the kickstand on. That's not going to be in the way. This I modified, squeezed it in a bit because it was a bit floppy, sort of side to side, and of course it's got that fault in the bottom, which I'm furious about. That was my fault, but that doesn't matter. We can put that on. We've got the hardware here, so there's 2 sets of bolts. I don't know what happened to the other spring. I think it's just loose in a box. I haven't bothered plating that. What else? We've got to put this on just in preparation for when the engine goes in. That's an engine mount bolt. Notice though, it's got a bend in it, so we'll have to straighten that out before we put it in. But putting all the engine hardware in, the hanging hardware here for the cylinder head and so forth, not a bad idea, because that way when we're ready to do the engine and subsequent works on the bike, we've got everything there waiting, and we just take those fasteners off and put them to the side while we do the work. So that is all looking reasonably good. Given the swing arm another lube, and of course we clean the nipple off so it looks all good. This is a restored bike, don't forget. So this is all looking good. I'm very, very happy with how it's all shaping up. Of course, the first thing, tiny bit of slip just around here. Not too much, just to stop the plastic chafing, and it will just be a better result, I reckon. A little bit of dirt might get attracted to it, but there's not much we can do about that. The kickstand's threaded in the back side. It has a lock nut there. And of course a spring, 2 sets of hardware. This set is better than this set, so we're using the good stuff, and all very self-explanatory. We put it in. I'm just going to, before I screw that up, put a little bit around the bolt, I think, just around the shank of the bolt, because that's essentially the pivot point. And then we've got to get the spring on without scratching anything, and that is going to be a freaking challenge. I mean, I get picked on a bit for all the plating I do. People are always saying, oh, I get a bit carried away, but it does give you a really nice looking result at the end of it all. Let's put that in. That goes in from behind and locks it all up. I need a spanner. What's a spanner? Is it a 17? It is. Still got a bit of side movement there, but I think that's alright. There we go. Now, which way is the friggin' spring going? I think the spring goes up like that. What do you think? Definitely up like that. I think it does. And I'd be inclined to have it facing like that. So, this is going to be a bastard to get on. I don't want to push this. I might do this on the ground. I reckon it's going to be safer. That, oops. That works well. I've got another blowfly in here. Got these new shocks. They're pretty much exactly the same, or almost exactly the same as to what the one of the bikes had. Reasonably spiffy looking things. And I'm a bit worried because originally, I'm going to put a washer there just to protect the powder coating. But the thing that I'm a bit worried about is this was packed up with shims, which that actually looks alright. I don't think we need to shim that. I was going to say, it was packed with washers. We can make a steel one on a lathe. I can't do it at the moment because I'm on holiday. Once I get back to work, I can do something with that. I think in the meantime, we'll use a bit of rubber grease because it won't affect the rubber in the eyelet there. So I'll just go and get some. It's castor oil based. It's good stuff. We use this for rebuilding brake calipers and all sorts of stuff here. It's very light. It's almost like jam. Just put some around there, and just so it doesn't chafe. But the rubber and that sort of thing. I'm just having trouble getting it out. There we go. Yep, that's a rag. Oh, okay. And you know, that way it's all good. It goes that way. Disappointing that there's not a spanner that comes with this. Yeah. Is that recording still? Yes, it is. I'll use this for now. Its job is only to hold it on that thing there. I might get a tap actually. That feels a bit mangy, that thread. So I think, well, we'll just pull that off and we'll go and get ourselves a tap. This tap and die set my brother bought for me for my birthday when I was 15. I had a Honda 350 and I've never really used it much, pardon me, after that, because everything I've had pretty much has been Toyota, which never needed to fix anything, or Imperial on local and local cars. Let's put that in. And I might pop that out too, I think. Actually, I should have cleaned that one up. That's an 8mm. Anyways, it's a 10 by 10 by 1.25. There we go. That'll do it. Bastard, go in there. Damn. What's going on here? Right, I just stuck this on my Povo linisher, so I can then hopefully fit these in without any interruption, or at least without any issue. Let's put that over there first, like that, and work him up, and that should go in, which it does. Oh, steps to get in there. And of course we can button that up, which is cool. Let's put that in. Tight little things, but I suppose they have to be, you know. You don't want a loose-fitting shock absorber. But that would be bad, because if it came off, that would get really ugly. Beautiful. I always thought that looked upside down, but it's the way they were on both bikes. And that must be the way they are. How cool is that? Alright, we'll turn the bike around and do the other side. So a few other things to do. I'm just letting bits and pieces, I'll just sit there. I've got to straighten that also, I have to clean that thread up. But not just that, I can get it all ready with stuff like this. Just so that when the time comes, it's all prepared and we're good to go. Which one's okay that way? So this can just sit idle for now. And the other thing it does is it gets all the powder coating out of the way and gets it hanging up on something so that it's not all just sitting around in packaging, because room, I just kick things over all the time in this garage and the room is dreadful. This little guy goes sort of behind there and in like that. It sort of sits in there, and of course the electricals come down here. I've got to clean up those pads. I'll go and do that now. Where they go, the little battery pads that sort of sit in there, the rubber things. And then we can put that on. That's just held in with these two. But I've been looking at this and just going through engine mount. Here we go, 10 by 60. Is that right? 10 by 60. It'll be a 10 mil. That's an 8, so we need a bigger one. I haven't got, that's a 12 by 1.25 thread for the kicks, the foot peg on the other side, and that's just bound up with powder coating goop, so I can't get that in at the moment. But I'll either buy a tap or I'll just wait till I go to work and borrow one and then bring it back. So I can't do that, and I just want to clean that thread up on there and put a nut there. But you know, it's all coming along well. It's doing exactly what I wanted it to do and behaving itself. It's all very nice looking. So I'll take a photo of it and just pop it off to Dave. Just putting this back together. These are the rubbers that came out of the old battery box. They're not the brush painted ones. They're the dirty ones that came out of this box before it was what do you call it? Powder coated. So we're just going to prod them back in. My elbow's probably in the way. I've got a habit of doing that. I watch these videos back before I publish them, and all you can see is the back of my elbow. So we get a screw stick and just pry that through. Whoa. Hopefully we don't scratch up our nice coating, and that is going reasonably badly, so push it through from behind and that should rotate in there, so that's all nice. That little, yeah, see, that's grotty. When they're wet, it's impossible, well, it's impossible to see how clean you've got them. That one's not too bad. It's a little bit gone at the edge, and that one's filthy. Now, this is actually easier to clean than the plastic. Some of the plastics you clean off and all the dirt disappears and it dries and leaves big stains where it was. I think I'm going to have trouble with this little guy here. That is the inner guard at the back. And it has a, where is it? Which didn't turn out that well, but this little thing here sort of goes on once it's been cleaned up. But that might have to be colour sand. It was like, I don't know, 1000 grit or something, just to get all the stains out of it. It's pretty mangy. Now, the option, or the other option to that is this one here, which looks a lot better, but it's been brush painted. That's off the good bike, as it were. Both of them are damaged in that area there, so I can't do much with that. The other thing is we're set the task of making this look brand new. And I've probably just dropped it in my tea. See? That's the original airbox, and it looks absolutely cacti. But I reckon it's going to come out really, really well. I've got high hopes for this, even though it's in such poor state there. I think if I got time in this video, I'll do it in this one. Otherwise, I'll have to wait for the next one. But this forms the side cover on the left-hand side, goes and forms the lid, as it were. So it sort of sits in that area. There's the brackets up here. Can we see up there? That sort of goes in like, it goes in there, right? I can't remember how it goes. Maybe it goes in through the back. Yeah, it goes in sort of like that. And so we can put that in too. It doesn't going to affect the engine going in, and it's going to look really, really good with that kit installed. Again, of course, we've gone to the extra yard of getting these things plated, and they fit sort of It goes on there. I don't know. It's a heat shield because the exhaust goes through there as well. So that's coming up too. So I'm just picking up random bits and kind of doing them. I'm just going to go away for a minute and re-clean these because they look awful and it's not going to cut it. And then I'll come back and we'll put that on. I've got them sitting there and I've got to paint this bracket here. I forgot to get it powder coated, which is probably a good thing. That goes in like that and it retains, flusher can goes there and the plugs and the coil sort of straps on the bottom. So that's got to have a really good earth. So I'll run a tap through there. And I'll clean all the paint once I've done it from that area there, just so it earths properly, because it's imperative that that's earthed. Last one, you can see I've just painted, what do you call it? Cleaned in a wash basin with the toothbrush and a bit of soap. That was brown. It was like the air filter box I just showed you. That's a painted one off the other one. Not interested in using that. So this is the last one. I've got all the others in. Sort of all around the edge and on the bottom, and there's a little nibbly one at the top, and this just sits in the center of the lid to give the battery all the support it needs. And then we can stick this in. And I've talked about battery boxes ad nauseum, but now I don't need to talk about them anymore because this is going in. I ran a tap through it just to make it easier to reassemble. I keep leaving the garage door open and these damn blowflies are getting in because the weather's warming up and those guys are becoming far more active. Oh yeah, I've got to straighten this out, but that can go in with that in. Oh, this isn't good in preparation for our engine. I'm wondering whether to put the skid plate on just to stick it up at a better angle. I might have a look and see what hardware that requires. It might I might put it in. The bash plate goes in there. I'll run a tap through those, and also the ones at the back. I re-tapped one of those, or I drilled it out and re-tapped it. It just might get it up on a better angle. Yeah, it will. Oh, I might as well put that in. It's all got to come out, that's all got to come out, so is those bolts, but at least then I know which goes where. And straight off the bat, it's better. It's a very nice looking bike, isn't it, so far? Oh, that is good. Oh, that's much better. I feel like I'm working on a chicken's rear. This bash plate had a different mount on the front between the two bikes. I'm just cleaning up the thread in this rear support. And I might have to space it because there was a rubber mount on the front where this one I basically used a frame with different bits and pieces in it. And the reason I did that was I picked the best of what was there. And we're sort of fabricating a bike out of that. So I've got to figure that out. It's not a big deal. I either would space that about 5mm out here or the front. I'd be inclined to space the back just for the reasons of aesthetics. But you know, it's not going to be a big deal. It couldn't matter less, really. So if I get I'll just use this non-shouldered one. That should just screw in there, just to give it just something to sit on, so it's nice and easy to work on. The one thing I don't have is a bike stand, so this is purely temporary. Hence the reason there's no washer and no shouldered bolt. Oh boy, knees, you know my knees? They're mechanic's knees. That's working on concrete all your life, or at least a lot of it. When I stopped being a mechanic and started being a teacher, I started doing more of this stuff at home. Anyway, look, that'll sit there for now. Well, I reckon that'll do for this one. It's looking really nice, and I think in the next one, I'm not even going to say what I think we'll be doing in the next one because I have no idea. I think we'll just do whatever takes our fancy, I might get the engine out and start painting that. I've got a few bits actually. Got our brand new gaiters for the front, which go there. Engine gaskets. A few other bits and pieces. I can't remember what I've got now. What have I got? Engine gaskets. I've got the gaiters. The bearings are in. And the other stuff's on the way, I think. Whatever. I don't know. There'll be a lot more I can do. I can take on that revolting... Where is the box I had? I can start doing this. That's going to come up beautifully because it's got all that anodized gold stuff that goes on. There's a drain and there's retainers and clips and all sorts of stuff. That'll come up beautifully. And I just wanted you to see how bad it is to start with. And of course that can go in there as well, in behind. So it goes in behind here. So we can do that. Carburetor, we can do the carburetor. We can start roughing in all the wiring. It's going to be good. It's going to be really good. And so I hope you've enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed doing this. Lovely little Meccano set. And a good deal easier than the XC, which I do have to get back into soon. So I'm very, very sorry to those who have been waiting for that. I just haven't got around to doing it yet. So anyway, drive safely, enjoy Classic, and I'll see you later. Bye.